Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the school committee meeting for Thursday, October 5th, 2023, returning to regular session. So this is the call to order, or the resumption of the public session. Sorry, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item will be public comment. Any public comment? Hearing none, seeing none. We'll move on. We'd like to, we'll do the first few things quickly. Recognition for North Andover custodians.
Yeah, Dr. Mealy, would you like to just click on that? So just wanted to recognize, and we didn't have them come in tonight because we didn't want them to come in their off time. But this week we're celebrating National Custodian Day, and it was the beginning of the week, and we are so thankful for what our custodians do for us. They've been the unsung heroes for a long time, and not only do they do a great job keeping schools clean, safe and healthy, they develop strong relationships with our students throughout the course of the day. We just wanted to recognize them tonight, and we had some photos that are linked to the agenda. Each school did a little something for the custodians that are really an integral part of the staff. And I'd ask Dr. Mealy if he had anything he wanted to add about the custodians.
I think you said it well, yeah. I mean, the amount of work they did during COVID was superhuman. The extra hours they put in to help us get through the different models we did, which was the hybrid and then in person, in order to make everyone comfortable and feel safe. It was just unbelievable, and they continue to provide a great service to us every day.
And in the recent storms, true, they also pitched in.
Any event
way,
that
right?
happens, they're the ones that come in and clean up after snow, after microbursts, or whatever that was that we got.
After air conditioners get blown off the roof.
Exactly.
And I'd also be remiss if I didn't say we're really appreciative of the work that John Mullen does. He is the head of all of the custodians and head of maintenance, and he works closely with Jim, and he's just terrific. So thank you.
All right.
Thank you to our custodians.
And then I certainly echo that response. I've had nothing but great experiences over the years with our custodians, and we appreciate their work. All right. Consent items. We need to approve the minutes from September 21st.
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept the minutes from September 21st as presented in the packet.
I second.
If you guys could give me just 1 minute to scan it. So quickly. Okay. Any discussion?
Nope.
Okay, then we'll have a vote. You in favor of the all in favor, starting with Mr. Hicks,
Yes.
Ms. Koenig,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes, so it passes. Thank you. All right. Now, the fun part of the meeting. I guess Ben is not here tonight, I see, but we have CC and Harper. Take it away.
Hey, hello guys, my name is Cece Choi. I'm a junior at North Andover High School. So this week has been a very busy but very fun and exciting week at the high school. So tomorrow is going to be the homecoming dance and our school Spirit Week pep rally. So this week there's Spirit Week at school, so every day is a different dress up day. Monday was pajama day, Tuesday was soccer moms versus barbecue dads. Wednesday was anything but a backpack day. Thursday was, today was country versus country club day. And tomorrow each class has their own color they have to wear for the pep rally. And the pep rally is going to be super fun. Student council's been working super hard to make the activities fun. There's going to be a bunch of games. And I'm pretty sure student council, we're also doing the Shirley Temple Bar. It got approved, so that's very exciting. And college visits have still continued during all 3 lunches. A few of the colleges that have stopped by so far, like Boston University, Northeastern, 2 of the UMasses like UMass Lowell and UMass Boston, and a bunch more, and there's more coming tomorrow.
And our homecoming football game was tonight, and sports are in mid-season. Girls volleyball has a game tomorrow. This Saturday is the SAT, and next Saturday there's the PSAT. And last week the club fair went on and during all 3 lunches, and it went very well. There were lots of new clubs and very fun clubs of all different kinds.
All right. Well, it sounds like a fun weekend coming up, and the rest of the week. Any comments, questions?
Yes, sir. Okay, ladies, what was your anything but a backpack?
I brought a drawer.
Like you carried a whole.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm gonna be honest, I forgot mine. I woke up late that morning, so I was in a rush, but someone offered me a plastic bag.
Awesome. How many tickets do you know how many tickets have been sold for the dance?
I think around 700.
Yeah, a little over
Amazing.
700.
And how many different Shirley Temples are you going to be serving at the Shirley Temple bar? I thought there was only one.
Just one.
Just one.
Just one, but lots
yeah,
of them?
lots of
Yes.
them. I went over them with the student council president today. She bought a lot of supplies. So
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
thank you.
All the hard-hitting questions.
I'm glad you asked about the Shirley Temple bar because I was curious about how many variations there are, but one is all you need. That's great.
I actually have one. I'm curious. With colleges, a lot of colleges doing away with requirements for SATs. Still, a lot of students still taking them.
Yeah.
So I actually went to the UMass Boston and UMass Lowell college reps, and I think it was Boston University. They said 65% of their students did not submit SAT any test. So that was interesting to hear.
But still, a lot of students are still taking them.
Yeah,
Yes,
I think
a
a lot
lot
of
of students are still taking them
take
anyways.
but not everyone submits them.
Yeah.
Okay. So if they're, I see. So it kind of becomes like if it's good, you use it. And if
Yeah.
it's not that great, you don't use it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, obviously in days of long ago, it was quite different, but not so long ago. All right. Well, we appreciate it. You're welcome to stay, of course, but I can understand if you don't want to. So thanks for your report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Do we want to entertain a motion to change the order so that we can, before you
Yeah,
go?
no, Paul's not here.
Not here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So then
This will
we'll,
be quick. Michelle is second up, but
okay. So now we'll do the superintendent's report.
all right. Thank you. We have a good report tonight, and we will keep it brief. We'll keep going through. But we're going to start off with a terrific event that happened this week where we had the North Andover Middle School addition and renovation groundbreaking. And I'm going to have Joe Hicks from the School Building Committee take us through some slides. Joe.
Yeah, it was a super fun event. I'm going to start with, there's Dr. Gilligan. We should start by recognizing Michelle McHugh for organizing and getting all the stuff there and the balloons and helping get all the materials ready for us. So thank you for that. So yeah, we had a great event. Town officials, Dr. Gilligan spoke, town manager spoke. There's myself. Not looking so great. I apologize for that. Mr. Brown looking much better. But it was a wonderful way to kick off this really important, the first school project as part of Facilities Master Plan 2. Groundbreakings are just, they're fun. I mean, you get to shovel around a little. It smelled like dirt, and I loved it. It brought back nostalgia. We have other, I can't see right now, Mr. Gonsalves and other members of the select board and our elected representatives, Ms. Trom and Adrian were there, and
Senator Tarr, actually. Bruce
Senator Tarr got there just as we were leaving.
He did make it after everyone.
They are
left the-
short and quick events. If you're not on time, it's unfortunate. But no, it was really fun. And Lori Borzloff has been doing a very good job of keeping the building committee on track and focused on the work we need to do. She's the chair, officially the chair of the building committee. So yeah, it was a great little crowd, moving dirt around. It's a lot of pictures of us doing the same thing. We even threw some dirt. It was fun.
And we had those nice shovels.
They're very nice shuttles from our from the contractor Hutter.
And they even had a helmet that fit my head.
Did you
Hard
keep
hat.
a vial of dirt as a
didn't keep a
memento?
vial of dirt.
Oh,
Oh, that would have been a good idea. I didn't think
full
of
of good
that.
ideas.
We can still go over again.
Shh, sneak in there at night.
You know what was really nice?
As we just said to all the public.
You know what was really nice?
I think we can probably find an official way to get everybody a vial of dirt.
But it was a really fun event to be able to go celebrate this. It's such a good moment for us to kick off the beginning of this long 10+ year process of building better buildings for our kids.
I'd just like to add
Go
one
ahead,
thing,
Dave.
that we should acknowledge our predecessors that put all this
Yes.
in motion, right? The former school committee members, that had the vision, as well as other town officials, the select board people that had the vision to put the facilities master plan 2 together. Some of them were there. Janice was there. Janice Phillips, Amy Mabley from our former member, Holly Vitsky Lynch was there. There were some other former school committee members who were school committee members a long time ago, right? But anyway, it's I think appropriate to acknowledge their work.
Yeah, it was really nice to have Helen Picard,
Yep.
Holly
And Helen,
Vitsky,
right.
and Amy Mabley, as well as former school committee members Mark DeSalvo, the town moderator, and Lori Burzlaff. So.
Right. Is that? I think
That's all we have for the groundbreaking. We'll come back to more updates on the building later on.
Right. Okay.
All right. Next up, presenting tonight, we have our Director of Social and Emotional Learning. This is Michelle O'Leary. Yeah, you can sit right there, Michelle. You can open as many windows as you'd like. Michelle does a terrific job, and she, if you recall, last year she became the interim Director of Social and Emotional Learning, and then we posted the job last spring. Michelle applied. She's been doing a fantastic job. And so tonight what I wanted to do is have her come and present an update on social and emotional learning in the North Andover Public Schools.
Thank you. Thank you all for having me tonight. This is obviously something I'm really passionate about, and I think most people in our district share that passion. With administrators, we have a fantastic group of counselors working with our kids every single day, and so I feel really lucky to be in a district that is actually up ahead of the curve, having a director of social and emotional learning. This is, not many districts have gone there yet, so I feel like North Andover's really been moving forward quicker than a lot of other districts, so I'm thankful for that. So my first slide, do you want me to just point to you when you want me to move it? Okay. You can move forward from this. So I just wanted to introduce you basically to our staffing. At the elementary school, we have 6 elementary schools, including the ABECC, and we have 7 guidance counselors. 2 are at the Atkinson School, and then we have 5 at the other elementary schools. And then 2 special ed therapeutic programs. There are 2 counselors associated with that, so that's at Kittredge and at Thompson. The Atkinson, with having the 2 guidance counselors, has been a really nice model, and hoping to, in the future move towards that with our other elementary schools, because our elementary counselors are doing Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. So they're counseling our kids on IEPs, they're dealing with our kids, working with our kids on 504s, and then on top of it, they're dealing with the crying kid that just shows up at their office on a daily basis. So you can imagine they are seeing lots and lots of students every week. So middle school, we have 3 guidance counselors, an adjustment counselor, and we have a Tier 2 and Tier 3 program. Our Focus program at the middle school has an adjustment counselor, and our Thrive program, the Tier 3 for our special ed students with emotional disabilities, has a counselor associated. And finally, the high school, we have 6 guidance counselors there, and we have the Focus program, our Tier 2, 2 adjustment counselors. And then the tech program is our special ed therapeutic program with 2 counselors associated with that program as well. Another area that I think North Andover has done really well with is we now have 2 town social workers, Deanna Lima and Crystal Clooney, who are working with the police department. And this is so integral because we often have calls out to homes where we may have a student in crisis, and our police officers do an incredible job with all of our populations, especially with our students. But Crystal and Deanna being on board is just another layer, having a social worker that can go into the home and then work with the family on services after the fact is just really, really nice for that wraparound services for our kids. And then finally, I've been working really closely with Cheryl Barzak, the Director of Health Services, and through a behavioral health grant, we are looking to hire an emotional and behavioral interventionist for a 1-year grant-funded position, and that person is going to be purely working in our elementary schools to assist our elementary counselors doing SEL lessons, doing groups, trying to do a lot more of the proactive versus the reactive, which may be more the counseling piece, getting into the classrooms more. So I'm excited about that. In terms of our SEL throughout the district, our elementary is going strong with responsive classroom. As I said, our administrators are so on board. Most of our elementary schools at this point have sent teachers as well as their counselors to the more intensive responsive classroom 4-day training. And whenever I have people come back from that training, they say to me, it's life-changing. It's just a whole new way to look at students in our classrooms and just their overall well-being and education. And Pam Lathrop, which I'm so happy to know, is completely on board with responsive classroom. She used it in Andover as well. So she is looking this summer to bring some of that PD to our district, so we can have more and more of our teachers who receive it. One of the things I work with the facilitated coordinators for responsive classroom, and one of the things we're working on this year with the elementary schools is just to align. Alignment's really important to me, and it's maybe program to program from elementary to middle to high school, because we want our students to be able to sort of seamlessly move through things. And the alignment amongst all the elementary schools is important, because in the end, all of our 5th graders all go to the middle school. They're all in one place. And so we want to make sure that they have received the similar, not training, but similar skill building in each of their elementary schools. So if we're working, our elementaries are doing morning meetings, which is a big part of responsive classroom, but they may be working on teacher language or logical consequences. We want the students to all be on the same page with that. So we're looking to align it, and I'm really depending on my facilitated coordinators. They know it in and out. They've been a really nice asset to the program. And exciting, for moving this year into next year, we're looking at bringing responsive classroom to North Andover Middle School. So we're in the process of hiring 3 facilitated coordinators that will assist with that transition. Our middle school currently is doing, we have weekly, or it's once a month, we have an extended homeroom, and they're doing their, it's sort of like an advisory block similar to the high school. And so we have an SEL committee at the middle school who's a fantastic group of teachers, counselors. It's a number of people that have been working on those activities, and they've been working so hard. And I was just at the meeting this afternoon today with them, and it's been really well received. So they're hearing from some teachers, we don't have enough time, which is always a good thing, because if you're running out of time, it means you're doing something you really enjoy, versus, I said, when you're sitting in front of a room full of students that aren't even talking, time goes by very slowly. So I feel really excited about the direction we're moving in with the middle school. So I'm looking forward to that transition over the next year. This just is going through, for those of you who may not be as familiar with responsive classroom at this point, these are the 4 main components. And I don't think there's anything out of the ordinary. I think sometimes people confuse SEL with thinking it's more about therapy and feelings, and that's what it's all about. But it's really about just creating citizens that are going to make our world a little better place. And so it's about engaging the academics. It's about a positive community building. It's about us having effective management skills over ourselves. And then finally, the developmentally responsive teaching. They focus a lot on where should our students be developmentally. So if we have not high school, but if we have a 5th grader who may be challenging a little more, well, developmentally, that's appropriate. So, we have to remember these things when we're handling our students, that there are some developmental things that Yeah, well, that kid's in second grade. They're probably going to do that, and that's okay. We will work with it. So that's another piece of responsive classroom that is great. At the high school, we are continuing to utilize Character Strong, and we want to expand it a little more. Character Strong we've been doing for a few years now, and what tends to happen with these programs is everyone's really on board initially, and then it starts to, lessen and lessen the excitement. So we want to bring Character Strong to us this year to do some PD, because our PD in the past, we've sent teachers to be trained, and then they've come back to do the PD with our faculty and staff. So we're looking to bring Character Strong in, so we've already been trying to figure out dates and whatnot to do that. But they're already during their advisory period, they're already doing the Character Strong lessons. And what they do is they focus 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. There's lessons for each grade level. So Connor Meehan, who is our Character Strong guru, one of our English teachers at the high school, every week he'll send out the lessons to the teachers and say, okay, this is what we're focusing on this week for 9th graders and 10th this week. And so he's been a huge piece of that program.
And probably one of the best ways that you'd know Connor is he is typically the MC and host of what used to be known as Mr. North Andover and is now known as the Scarlet Knight.
Yeah. He works with student council. He's
Track coach, he does everything.
He's a treasure. So professional development. One of the things that Cheryl Barzak and I have been working on is our nurses and counselors work hand in hand every single day on mental and behavioral health issues. So I've been putting together some professional development that we're actually going to be able to get our nurses and counselors together. The Massachusetts Partnership for Massachusetts Partnerships for Youth, MPY, is a fantastic resource for us. We are members, and they provide free workshops. They're coming out to our school. They're doing one on improving attendance and truancy, and they're doing one on supporting LGBTQ plus youth in school and community. So they're coming to us for free, which is a beautiful thing. Anytime I can get any free PD, I'm going to jump at it. And they also have a ton of webinars. They have a whole library of videos that is available to all of our faculty and staff to utilize. So we definitely are taking full advantage of that partnership with them. All of our administrators, our nurses, our counselors have all been given access to a new mandated reporter training that's been offered through the Office of the Child Advocate. So that's something that we're all up on the newest information. They are going more to the computer base, so we no longer have to write out whatever the 51A may be and then fax it over and all of that. Instead, we have accounts that we build right online, and we can work with them that way. Makes it all a little bit easier. And then finally, we have a full day PD in January. Last year, we were going to have the mental health first aid for our middle and high school counseling and therapeutic program staff. Unfortunately, it was canceled the very last minute. The trainer caught COVID. So I started in this position right at the beginning of January, and the very first PD I was supposed to help set up was canceled the day before it was supposed to happen. So I felt like I was just thrown into the fire, figure it out. But we were able to reschedule that for this year, so that's going to be happening in January. I've been working a ton with Lisa Roberts with the North Andover Parent Resource Network, which she's really helped to bring forth, and we've already done an event with Allie Meeker, one of our school psychologists, over at the community resource room at Stevens Library, and that was a nicely attended event, and just talking about stress and how we deal with it, how our kids deal with it. And next we have an event November 16th at the high school, and it's going to be our panel of experts. So we have a school psychologist, counselors from elementary and middle school, BCBA, an OT, a PT, a couple of the youth center employees are all going to be there as a panel, and we're opening it up to questions for parents on anything under the sun that they could be maybe concerned about with their kids, or just in general about whether it's development, social and emotional, regulation, whatever's on their mind. So I'm really excited for that. We're also working with the National Honor Society to try to get some babysitting, because we know these events are wonderful, but when you have young ones at home, you can't always attend. So our hope is to be able to set that up with them, and then we can advertise more. Even some of our panel of experts were like, there's going to be childcare? That would be excellent. Then I can definitely do it. So I'm excited for that. I'm continuing to offer office hours for parents, and it's at the community meeting room at Stevens Memorial. I think it's not necessarily like a certain Thursday of every month. The dates are up there: October 12th, November 9th, and December 14th in the afternoon. And I just like to be over there if any parents want to stop by, and just to a meet and greet if you have specific questions, you have specific ideas about anything SEL. So I'd like to open that up and hopefully get some takers. And finally, these are two exciting things that we're just finishing up with. Care Solace. Jim, can you actually click on to the Care Solace website? We are in the process of signing a contract with this agency. And what they do is they are available to all of our students, all of our faculty and staff, all of our parents. If you are associated with North Andover Public Schools in any way, shape, or form, like let's say you have a child who's a junior in high school and you have a child or an adult that is now in college, you can utilize these services for that college-aged child. And what it is to help parents with any sort of mental or behavioral health services. So we are finding that therapists are few and far between. Everyone has really long wait lists. And for our counselors to try to help, it can take half of their day just to try to get an appointment for one of their students. So they take that work out of their hands. They have a case manager, care worker that the parents or the counselor, however you want to do it, will call. They're hooked up with this caseworker, and then that person's job is to find them whatever it is they're looking for, whether it's outpatient therapy, whether it's in-home therapy, maybe a social skills group, whatever it may be. Care Solace told us that, and I'm not going to get it completely right. I think it was within the 5 or 10 mile radius, we have 600 providers, which is crazy to think about. But there's a lot out there, and I think that parents tend to go to the same places, and that's why the wait lists and everything are as big as they are. So their job is to set up that appointment. They not only set it up, but then they are also available they will follow up and say, how did it go? Are you going to stick with this person? Do you want me to start a new search? So it's really, because that's the other piece, our counselors are so busy that follow-up isn't always available. They're not always able to do that. So this is really wrapping the services right around. They work in 30 different languages. They will work, it can be anonymous. So if a parent is at home and they want to just go through it anonymously, they can do that. They are 24/7. So if something, someone is at home and they're concerned, they can just call them up and say, this is the time I want to get this done. Because sometimes, we get really concerned and then the day passes and it's like, maybe we're okay. Maybe it's not a big deal. So I like the fact that they're 24/7 because, get things in place when you're feeling like you're ready to do it. Methuen is using this. Andover's using it. Methuen actually has gone a step further, and they are signing a contract for the municipal contract. So basically anyone in Methuen can utilize this service. And when you do it as a municipality, they also help with social services. So if someone is having trouble paying their heat, they help with finding them the resources for that. So, we'll see how things go. I have been told that it's a huge time saver for our counselors and has been a really great resource for our town, for the school districts when it comes to, I talked to Methuen quite a bit about this. Finally, sorry I talk quickly and a lot, but another thing that I'm so grateful to work in Massachusetts, because Massachusetts has put a ton of time, energy, and money into mental and behavioral health. And there's a lot of websites available that are MassGov websites. But one of the things that has really been helpful is the Community Behavioral Health Center. Massachusetts has identified a certain number of centers in the state, and ours is in Lawrence, 12 Methuen Street in Lawrence. It's Beth Israel Leahy Center. And we just spoke, Cheryl Barzak and I just spoke to the director there, and they can provide services. They can do, if we have any crises that parents can't get the child to them, they'll come out and they'll do a mobile crisis visit. They can do outpatient, inpatient therapy, groups, hospital. They can work with the families if they need hospitalizations. It's once again that wraparound service. So I'm really happy, because through the years it's been tough, because all of these outside agencies are completely overworked as well, and so and there's been a really big need. So I'm really excited to see what's coming of all of everything that Mass as a state has been putting forward for mental and behavioral health. So I feel like we're in a good place.
All right.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
You have any questions or anything? Yeah?
I have some, but you guys want to go first?
Yes. So happy to have you here. Thank you for coming.
Sure.
Couple quick ones, just so I understand. Elementary school guidance counselors, there are some that are school adjustment counselors and some that are guidance counselors.
Yep.
And currently they do in-class programming, but the hope would be to hire additional people to do the in-class programming part so that they can focus on servicing other students more intensely.
Yeah.
And not be pulled.
Yeah. Because they've been pulled away more from in-class programming as the counseling loads have gotten bigger.
Mm-hmm. So important. And at the high school, are there some counselors who do just the typical college counseling, academic stuff, and others that do the school adjustment piece, or do they do all of them, do all the things?
So the Tier 2 and Tier 3 program, those are all adjustment counselors associated with those programs, so they do the counseling. Our guidance counselors, we have a fantastic staff. All of our counselors are incredible. I'm so happy to be very lucky to be working with them all. But our high school guidance counselors, they do the academics, they do the college. They'll also work with their students. They have students checking in with them daily. So they do a little of everything. If it's going to be a more intensive, every week type of counseling, those are generally with our adjustment counselors.
Great. And then why, I know Responsive Classroom is a fantastic program. Why is that? Why do we invest in that one? Like, what's the why them and not one of the other ones out there that also be very good?
Yeah, I think that really this was my predecessor that started this, but I think a lot of it has to do with the research. They are aligned with CASEL, which is what we're all aligned with, and it's just it's being used more and more. In fact, generally, it's sort of the go-to when I'm in conferences and we're just talking about different programs. People have had a lot of success with it, and I think a big reason is it's not a cut and dry, like, here, cookie cutter, here's what you teach. This is day one, that type of thing. It's more of a what's the word I'm looking for?
It sets a routine for students of stability. They know what to expect when they come in,
Yeah.
and it teaches them the skills that they need,
Yeah.
whether they're at lunch, recess, the weekends. And we were lucky because when did you start at the high school, Michelle?
2008.
2008. Back in 2008, there were a couple elementary schools that started with Responsive Classroom. So one of the advantages with Responsive Classroom was the fact that we still had some existing staff that had been using it for a long time. And so Michelle's done a great job getting the facilitators at each school working. But it's like, my favorite thing was morning meeting.
Morning meeting, if you guys ever have a chance to get into a morning meeting, you will be blown away by not only how the teachers manage the classrooms. I've been in morning meetings, kindergarten, second, first, all actually kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. And I'm, first of all, amazed at our teachers because I could never do what they do, the way they're managing all these little ones. You know, it's herding cats for me, but they do such an incredible job. But then to watch the students, I was in a kindergarten morning meeting last year, and the teacher was picking, you know, she would have the kids pick the duck, and if you got the right duck, then you were the leader for that morning, you know, that type of thing. And she says to the students as they're all getting into their places, and what do we do if we aren't the ones that pick the duck? And this little girl looked right at me and went, brush it off. And I was like, yes, that's amazing. So one of the things I was going to say is responsive classroom is great because it just gives you a general, this is what we want to do with our kids. Logical consequences. If you break it, you fix it. If you have misused something, well, maybe you got to take a break from that. And it's less about the lessons and more about this is what we want from our students. So it gives our teachers the freedom to do things as they like, but at the same time, we have the overarching, these are our goals.
Thank you. Last two comments. I love that we are thinking about how to take care of our kids so that they're in a space where they can then do the learning, because that's ultimately the goal here. We're not going to fix all the things with kids when they present some struggles, but there are kids anyway, and we got to make sure that we support them so that they can do the academic work. So this stuff is so important.
Yeah.
And lastly, I love the carousel stuff. That seems like it's a investment and a cost, but it will pay itself back in dividends by allowing our counselors the opportunity to do the other things that they're very good at, and not be pulled away to do sometimes some very time-consuming tasks. That,
And I
great.
love that it's a resource for our faculty and staff too.
That's
you
for
know,
everybody.
because they are parents. Many of them are parents, just like the rest of us, and have kids with struggles. And so I love that piece too. That it's about the whole community. It's not just about the students.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any comments?
I just
Questions?
had two very small things. So the managing stress event, what was the turnout like for that?
It was 15, which it was a 20. 20 was the limit.
Okay.
So that for the first event of the year, we were feeling pretty good about that. A lot of elementary school, and actually a couple of middle school families as well. And then the one coming up, that's the big one. We usually have, or I should say I'm just on board to help however I can, usually have a couple of smaller events that are supposed to be a little more like a group, you know, and then they'll have the bigger event, and that's going to be the one in November.
Great. And then my other comment was for your office hours. Will there be any type of maybe Google link set up for parents who maybe can't ever come in person, who work from home, that maybe they can log in and ask questions?
That's a great
Is that
idea.
a possibility?
Yeah. I'll just have to talk to Carol Arcombe, and she can help me
I think
with
that
that.
would be great for those parents who maybe are at the office but still
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
have some involvement.
Yeah, I love that. That's a fantastic idea. Thank you.
It's okay. I want to pile on that one because I had written down, how about a nighttime meeting for the same reason, right? Somebody who can't make it during the day, but I think the virtual would do the job.
Yeah.
I think that's maybe even better, right? So you don't have to come at night.
Yeah.
But that way, somebody who can't physically be here, right, could access the services. Forgive me, but I have a few definition questions. I just don't understand some of the terminology. So what makes something a tier 2?
Okay, so basically the tiers, we're looking at it like a triangle.
Okay.
So tier 1's down here. This is the majority of the population. This is just any old student, okay? And now tier 2, we're getting a little smaller. Now we're talking about percentage-wise, maybe this is 10 to 15% of the population. These are students that may be on 504 plans. These are students that may need extra services academically, but are not so intensive that they are then qualified for tier 3, which is generally like the 5 to 10% of the population. And tier 3 is, we're talking about our therapeutic programs, students that need a lot more services.
Okay, thank you. That helps me. I know you're excited about the grant you got to bring in an emotional behavioral interventionist for a year, but what happens after the year?
Well, we're feeling pretty good that it's going to continue. As I said, with the Massachusetts push, this is a grant that it looks like it will continue.
That could renew. You could be renewed.
Exactly,
Okay.
but we have to present it as 1 year because all of a sudden someone could decide that mental health isn't as important anymore. I don't see that
I
happening.
hope not, but okay. I had another one. Oh yeah. I'm curious about the character strong. And you said it's sort of like it's being reinvigorated.
Yep.
How do we measure, right? How do we know if students are really getting the message there? Is there some way to figure that out? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like, it's one thing
yeah.
to have the activity, and how kids can be.
Yeah.
And then off they go, and they never think about it again.
Yeah, I think that doing a school climate survey may be the best way to go about it, because that's what it's really all about. Is are our kids feeling good about themselves? Are they helping others? Are they feeling like a community? And so we could put together, because there's a lot of different school climates surveys, so we could do something like that just to get an idea, because I honestly don't know if they've checked in with the students to say how important is how important has advisory been to you, how important is character strong, but that's certainly something that we can look to.
I think it's a good idea to figure out is what you're doing working, right?
Yes.
You want to know.
Yeah,
I would think so. That'd be
Right, so a lot of that will tie into too, ties into the health report at the end of the year. How many nurses visits? It ties into chronic absenteeism. All the things that we kind of tie together at the end of the year when Cheryl comes in. It ties in with the work we do with our attendance officer. So there are ways, and we look at referrals. We look at you can look at suspension rates, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
But overall, it's really the most important thing to contributing to building a respectful North Andover
community. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say we do the youth at risk survey every year with our students, and I know Cheryl presented at the end of last year, but we're seeing some great trends with our students, moving away from. We're actually better than the average in Massachusetts in terms of students that are vaping or using drugs or alcohol. Our numbers are better across the board than the Massachusetts average. So we're definitely seeing in that's a great place to look, and we're definitely seeing improvements right across the board for that.
All right, and my last one was just about the professional development. Do we have some kind of feeling about how well our staff's participating in that?
In terms of the two we have coming up, those are going to be during our actual PD days.
Right, but do the teachers have options to attend or not attend? Like, are they picking from a menu of things that they can do, or is it this you got to go to this?
Yeah, the ones that we've put together through MPY, those are the nurses. That's their deal for that day. That's what they're
mandatory.
doing. Yeah.
Okay, got
yeah.
it. That's
yeah.
what I was wondering. Like, it's not.
And that
it's not
varies.
optional.
It varies. So we use our time really well with faculty meeting time, early release, professional development, beginning of the year, and so and we get a lot of feedback on it. And it's probably one of the most comprehensive PD calendars anywhere.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Thanks.
Just one more follow-up question
Yeah.
on this. This caresolace.com, I know there's probably confidentiality rules, but do they give you any type of report of how many community members have utilized it?
Yes. Yeah. Data. We all love data, right? Yes. I'm not sure if it's interim, but we can always get the numbers of how often it's been used. Yeah, of course, there are no names or anything, but they'll give us all that data. So then we'll be able to see at the end of the year, like, oh, this was really worth it, or we'll see, actually, people didn't use it enough. We need to advertise more. So they're going to help us with the rolling out of it, because we want this to be on our website, definitely in the SEL part of our website, and they will help with all of that, with that advertising and getting it out there to the families. But yes, we'll definitely get all that data.
Oh, great. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. I'm going to get us right back on track, on schedule here. I forgot to mention at the beginning of the meeting that Pam Lathrop is not here tonight. Pam is in Washington, D.C. She was selected as the Principal of the Year for the state of Massachusetts last year. And so all of the Principals of the Year, from every state in the United States, is down in D.C. And I believe they select 3 National of the Year. So it's not like a pageant or anything like that. But I was thinking that when I was like, oh, this sounds funny. But it's quite an honor. And she's down there, so that she wasn't with us tonight. Secondly, at the groundbreaking too the other day, I want to really thank North Andover CAM for the work they do. Brian Frazier did a great job with the sound system. Bill in the booth here, they're always awesome. They do anything we ask of them, and they really make a difference of getting information out to the community. And I think when I stepped out for 1 second, Bill did give me a football update at the homecoming game right now. North Andover is down 31-14 to Methuen. So not great news on that end. All right. So Nights on the Run, that's through the NAAA. That's this Saturday, and that's a 5K. I actually did run it once. I think you can find my listing under Zeb Gilligan. I think it was maybe 31 minutes or so. It's been a while. But they also have a student fun run that will be the elementary schools, and every year they have a trophy for the elementary school with the most participation. And I think it's been an ongoing feud with the 2 finalists, the perennial finalists, Thompson and Atkinson. So that's always fun. Save the date, the North Andover Parent Resource Network, their next event is November 16th, and we'll get you information on that as soon as it's out. A familiar face will be presenting for the North Andover CPAC Special Education Basic Rights presentation on October 10th, and I believe that's Holly Vitsky, attorney Holly Vitsky, formerly of the school committee, is presenting. And I also want to just, it's a little early, but we promote it quite a bit. Marcy does a really terrific job, and our CPAC does an amazing job of CPAC Awareness Day, which will be November 17th. Then next up on the superintendent's report this is a really awesome one. You know, the idioma that we talked about last time is we'll be offering a class for English for speakers of other languages. So this will be adult education to learn English for speakers of, other languages. So we're excited to that. There's a flyer listed on the agenda, and we'll continue to promote that, and we'll also really push that out, particularly through our Title I programming as well. So that is that, and the highlight of my week this week so far, still tomorrow, was I was able to go over to Andover High School, travel over to our crosstown rival and enemy, is the North Andover Unified Hoops team. Took on Andover High. Coach Berg did a great job. I got to sit on the bench with the team. They had a great crowd, the cheerleaders, announcers, scoreboard, and unfortunately, they got the best of us, Andover. They had a fast-paced offense, but we clawed back into it, but they eventually overtook us. We're up next at Tewksbury, so we're away at Tewksbury, and then I think we have a couple home games. So if you see on the schedule for the athletic page, co-educational basketball, that's what it is, unified basketball. And so with that, I'd like to thank Michelle for coming and dismiss her, if that's okay with the committee.
Thanks, Michelle.
And that is the update for the superintendent, and I would respectfully turn it over to the chair.
Okay, it's time for the chair's report, or do we want to?
It would be great to take a staff member out of order. If the committee so chooses.
Do we have to vote on that? No? All right, yeah, I think it's the pleasure of the committee to move out of order and hear what you have for us. Welcome.
Yeah, folks, so this is Paul Vigent from North Andover High School, and have a seat. And he's here tonight, and Dorville's not coming tonight.
No, she had prior commitments way ahead of time.
They're going to talk about the trip, the Ireland trip, for spring of 24.
25.
Spring of 25.
Year and a half away.
So we got plenty of time.
I love early.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Miss Lathrop.
Thank you so much.
Miss Lathrop oversees all the overnight field trips, the approvals and whatnot. So we just thought we'd get some info to you, be able to ask a few questions, and then we'll be back for another read. And doing it early is always great because we never want to rush. Airlines are so
Yep.
And then you can legitimately recruit kids to go because you know
touch and go.
you have
And
support.
giving families enough time to get the money together is fair. Like, they don't want them to say, like, hey, it's due in a couple months. No, it's just give them lots of headway. Plus, if it gets approved, we can work on the itinerary to try to get the price down and stuff. Yeah.
So just let me interrupt, sorry, for the people who are watching. We've skipped ahead to new business part A. First read and discussion, overnight field trip request for Ireland, Scotland trip. Just to make sure we know what we're talking about. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think we'll let Paul talk a little bit about the trip and the purpose.
Derville teaches Irish literature, and the kids are always enthralled into all the Irish culture and all the writers that they talk about. And I proposed to Miss Bentley that we take the kids on the trip. They're on April vacation. They wouldn't miss any school or anything like that. And I just told her I'd help with the paperwork. And I went to Germany a couple of years ago, and I love traveling with the kids and event free. Everyone's safe. Everyone had a good time. We brought 45 kids then. So our goal is to have like 24 to 32, 33 kids this year. And the itinerary matches her syllabus of her course. We're going to talk about all the writers that she talks about. We're going to talk about the emigration that Ireland had. We're going to visit the museum, lots of castles, lots of history. The kids will have a great time.
I have chaperoned some trips before too, so I have experience.
That gives me, it stresses me out. Traveling with that many kids.
Oh.
I think it's amazing. Thank you for doing that because I don't think I could.
It's a lot of work.
Really appreciate it. So they'll go to mostly Dublin and or surrounding areas, and then Edinburgh.
Yeah, right out there, just a short little flight over to Scotland and to visit some castles and some other things. Yeah. Yep. And I don't know if you have. I linked it a little bit later on when they were asking. I also linked her syllabus. I don't know if it's on the thing I sent, but if you guys need hard copies, I have
It's
it
a
here.
link. Yeah, it's a link.
You have it though? Okay.
There's a link to it in here.
All right,
Yeah.
excellent.
Okay. Any questions anyone has? I mean, it
I
seems.
think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Kilmainham Jail is eerie and a wonderful visit too. It's interesting to learn about the way they constructed jails to help restore people's humanity. Like the way it's constructed is really interesting in terms of like rehabilitation of prisoners. And I suggest the GPO is also fantastic to visit.
Awesome. Yes.
This is wonderful. And thank you for being very early.
Paul, my pleasure.
How many students register for this course?
She'll have approximately 150 kids registered for that course. She has many sections of it. So it's a very, very popular course. We will have no problem filling this trip. We just have to figure out like what is the number we have. If we have a high demand, we can get more chaperones. Like right now, we already have 3 chaperones targeted to go. So we're expecting 24 kids with that. But if we have 32 kids, then we'll get a 4th chaperone. So we'll adjust. We don't want to tell any kids no.
Right.
So.
And this is brand new. We've never done this before, right? In the district?
I suggested a couple of years ago to her, I'm like, you're from Ireland, you teach Ireland, why aren't we going on this trip? And she's like, I don't want to do all the paperwork. So I said, I'll do it. I would, the kids have been asking. Like, they take constant trips to Spain and France and stuff. And the kids were asking, like, when are we going to go do this? I'm like, we have to have a reason. And they said, we take Irish Lit. Why can't that be a reason? I was like, that's a good reason.
It's a very good
Well,
reason.
tremendous
Amazing.
cultural history in Boston, right,
Yeah.
for Irish immigration. So it seems appropriate, right? Okay. I don't have any questions. It looks pretty straightforward to me and awesome. And maybe if you need a chaperone, give me a call.
That's what I was thinking.
I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
No, I really may chaperone.
Oh, you were offering too?
Earlier when I was mentioning my experience chaperoning. I've done the DC trip. I've done a few. It's a lot of work actually chaperoning because it's typically a time you recharge, but this is a great way to recharge in a different way during your off time.
Yeah, when I went to Germany, I realized that you're on 24 hours. Like, it's a full-time job.
You'll need a vacation after this.
Yeah.
Dr. Gilligan, I was just had a thought, and it could be a very bad idea, but our kids will have these wonderful opportunities that we think so much about before they go, and then they go and experience it, but then we never always have the opportunity as a community to then hear about the things that they've learned and done, which I wouldn't want to mandate it, but like invite them always to come back and share with us what was it like and what did you learn?
I love that idea.
Yeah, so Mr. Hicks, before your time on the committee, no, honestly, before we've had groups come back.
Yeah.
We've had the music group. We've had people that have gone different places come back, and we didn't have trips for a little while with COVID.
Yeah.
And so last year was probably the first trips we had.
The Germany trip was one of the first ones, and the COVID requirements were very strict. And we had to take them to get tested the day before the flight, and then when we were in Germany, we had to get them tested the day before we left Germany. It was a lot.
Because we spent a lot of time at these meetings actually going over the refund policy, all that. But it's awesome anytime we can get the kids to come in.
It'd be wonderful to hear about all the wonderful things that they get to learn and do.
All right. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming. Yeah, travel during the pandemic. I had to do it a bunch of times, and it was tough. Testing both ways, and if you were trying to get PCR, for a while PCR tests were demanded, and those take 24 hours to come back. So you end up paying quite a bit at the airport when you have to get one done quickly. Okay, let's see. So back to the chair's report. So first, community chats. We have our data here. But Michelle did the poll for 3 dates, but I thought maybe we ought to try to do one sooner than December 2nd, because we were originally going to do one at the Fall Festival, right? Which is, sorry, it's this Saturday, but we don't have enough coverage for it, so we can't do it, right?
I was curious why that one.
Yeah, why it disappeared?
Yeah.
I'm away for the weekend. Joe's away for the weekend. Pam's away for the weekend. So there's only 2 possibilities, you and Andrew, and that seemed like too much.
Yeah, I can't sit there all day.
Right, you can't be there all day, and he can't either. So we had to scrap that. So I think we have pretty good coverage for these dates. But do you know, Greg, if Michelle surveyed everybody about the dates I suggested in October? She didn't, or maybe
I didn't see an additional.
I don't know.
She may
I
have
was
gotten
unavailable for both of those.
The October dates?
Yeah, so
then maybe I missed that one.
Yeah, I'm
pretty sure she sent it.
Yeah.
Okay, then maybe
I could do the 21st or the 28th of October. Both are Saturdays. That's no good for you, Joe, you said?
Yeah, I'm not available for either one.
So
let me look at my calendar.
do either of those work?
What times were we thinking? Like a 12:30 to 2?
Yeah.
I cannot do the 28th. I could do the 21st.
All right. So if you don't mind, then I'd like to we'll do that. We'll publicize it. We'll do the 21st. You and I will cover the first one, and then we'll. And then the March date is easy. Oh, it's the same. It's the same too. And maybe Joe, maybe you can substitute for one of us on that one, and then we don't have everybody else's.
Yeah, we're
you know what?
missing
So this is
2
really
people.
incomplete. So why don't we just do this? If you guys are okay with it, you and I will cover October 21, and then we'll complete the survey.
So October 21,
Yep.
12:30 to 2. And where is it going to be?
I'd like it at the library.
Great,
Community room,
perfect.
if we can arrange it. It probably will be okay.
I'm sure Michelle's taking notes right now.
All right. So we'll plan on that, and then we'll work on the rest of this offline and try to figure out
Okay.
I'm actually not available the 2nd of March. I missed it. That should be a note.
Okay, so that should be a note. Okay. But we have 2 missing responses, so we have to figure out if we can cover that with those folks. All right, so we'll take care of that offline. Next is covering CPAC meetings. And so Alyssa, you were there the other night,
Yes.
and let's see if I can do this like live while we're. So I can go
I'll go on the 16th.
16th, all right,
Yep.
and I will too.
Ms. Koenig, are you the official liaison?
I am, yes.
So it should be you and one other
Oh,
person.
only one of us. All right, so do you prefer that date, Joe?
Yes.
All right, so we'll just have you and Alyssa then, and we'll go on December 5th, and Andrew. Well, Andrew and Pam can wrestle about it. Actually, I know Pam went to the last one in the spring, because I was with her. So why don't we just give it to Andrew? Does that sound reasonable?
Fine with me.
I would check with him, but sure.
Yeah, assuming he can, but he said he could. All right, so that's the plan, and I'll confirm it with him. Okay, that's that. But I do have a few other, at least 1 or 2 other things I wrote down with me. Is this the appropriate time to address Attorney O'Connor's email? No?
I'm not sure at this time.
Okay. Because that's,
No.
all right, so we can address that later. I think that's it for me. Yep, that's all I have. Okay.
All right, so we've got school building committee updates.
Yep.
And I'm not sure what more Joe can add.
Well, we met a couple things. We had a groundbreaking last week. The middle school building committee met, and this week before the groundbreaking, we had to make an adjustment to the size of the drainage pipes in the new construction from 12 inches to 18 inches so that they can handle the water flow appropriately. So we voted to change the size of those pipes so everything goes well. And then they had to make some adjustments to what's going to be the new entrance outside the cafeteria to make sure it is in compliance with fire code and meets all standards there to keep our kids safe. So they had to make a small modification to that entry. It looks great, and we're very happy about that. We are continually making sure we do everything to keep our kids safe the very best ways we can. So those are the 2 things that happened this past week. We do meet every other week. The first meeting of the month is always, and the second is sometimes if we have some change orders or things to discuss, but they always get posted.
Great. And the Kittredge, Dr. Maley?
So following the process of MSBA, we received proposals for the OPM. OPM is the Owner's Project Manager. We selected 4 to interview. We interviewed them, and we have now made a recommendation to MSBA of an Owner's Project Manager. Their role beyond making sure we stay on time and on budget is also to work with us during the selection process for a design firm, to work with them and the community during the design process and gathering feedback and having input, and also to ensure that we communicate well with the community. They'll have a website that they'll set up and maintain and keep us informed. So that was a big step, and we will definitely benefit from having them on board.
Dr. Miller, are all the OPMs that we interviewed pre-selected or screened or approved by the MSBA and meet their requirements?
They used to. Well, they have to meet certain
Right.
requirements in order to, right. And then they also have to agree to the contract that has been developed by MSBA, that they're willing to sign that contract, not, a lot of times we have a challenge of bringing somebody on board finally because they have their lawyers review and say, well, we need you to take this out or that out. It won't be the case with this one because they've all agreed to that contract.
Great.
Yep.
Is it, Dr. Mealy, is there anything that can sort of cause a disruption to that process and delay the project? Is there, I guess I'm just not familiar with the way MSBA works, right?
Yeah, and the other really critical part is every single firm that we brought in is very familiar with the MSBA process and making sure you stay on track and do what you need to do. So that's a big part of it as well. That's always a possibility, but as long as we have a rep with MSBA that we work through and they keep us on task and on time. So as long as we do what we're supposed to do, it should be fine.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, and I am getting regular communications. I'm getting copied on the
On
back
what?
and forth of the candidate. The candidates down selection, the recommendation, all that. I'm
Yep.
seeing that. But
Yep.
okay. All right. Any other comments on Kittredge
No.
or questions? Okay. All right. Next, we have old business. It's second read and vote on all our goals.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Brown. I was thrilled last time to be able to present our goals for the year, shared goals. My goals as superintendent and the school committee put together a goal, which I think is very good. And I wanted to draw your attention to a couple items. First and foremost, thanks so much for those who provided feedback and suggestions. Had the ability to incorporate some of those today, and they're in your handout. And so goal number one, I think that's critical, again, with Facilities Master Plan 2, as we continue to move forward. And I think that really tonight you see every meeting we'll be reporting out on what's happening to make sure we keep up with those deliverables and timelines. Down to the superintendent goals, in terms of, for me, this is a really important one this year, the strengthen consistent and rigorous implementation of high-quality instructional materials. That's a mouthful, particularly at the pre-K through 5 level. This is a Herculean task this year, and the teachers are doing a great job in terms of, particularly in elementary, the implementation of wit and wisdom. It's implementation year. So really the key actions that are critical to make this successful is the ongoing work to continue to design and implement professional development to meet the needs of teachers and teaching assistants related to consistent and rigorous high-quality instructional materials for student achievement. And all of our pre-K through 5 classes will be using the high-quality instructional materials, Wit and Wisdom, Haggerty, and Foundations. And our focus with the professional development will be from last year being a pilot to increased integrity, or a word we call fidelity, and not in a bad sense there, but across the district. And to do that, we're really working hard with Boston College and the folks from Lynch Leadership Academy to examine the data that we collect and shape learning experiences for the teaching staff and leadership. And last but not least, in spring of 24, we're examining by spring of 24, and we'll be able to report out then more options for high quality curriculum resources in 6 through 8. So looking really a busy year in terms of that. It's not too often that we have such major initiatives going on with this, and the principals have stepped right up in terms of the monthly training with Boston College, the monthly meetings that we have here at central office, and the teacher leaders, I have to say, the facilitators, the teacher leaders have done a remarkable job, and they'll be working to unpack the modules using the module unpacking tool and meet with grade level teams, because all of this information, as we become more familiar and used to teaching it, allows us to have more information to better serve the needs of students. So we know where they're at point A, how do we get to point B? And so last but not least, the consultants, again, from Lynch Leadership Academy is supporting the curriculum, our curriculum team, but also our principals. And they're meeting with coaches and consultants individually as well, the principals are. So, and the next one is a big one. It's something I think we always strive for, is the 2023 school year. District will support a district-wide commitment to social justice and equity for all students and staff. And so what you'll see in the key actions, some of the adjustments, is really what's happening throughout the course of the year. Again, a lot of the work that we do, this dovetails really nicely into the work we're doing with Boston College. Also this year, you know, the equity process headed up by Cindy Bradley Weeks. They'll be doing a town and school-wide equity audit, and that's in process. And in addition, a special education review. Other key actions for the year to meet this need is to continue to build capacity with our staff. And so Facing History and Ourselves is meeting in October and November. And we are hopeful from those. It's been well received that we'll have some additional facilitators that are interested in doing that kind of work, kind of like what Michelle was talking about with our responsive classroom facilitators, and they would help lead that work, and we'll continue to move that needle. And then we have the Principal Learning Art course that will occur monthly, and we're trying something with a new partnership this year. It's going to be ongoing for the year with the Center for Leadership in Educational Equity, and that's something that we're partnering with at NAMS, and we hope that will make a difference. So we will have ongoing reports about different clubs and activities and things that take place, across the district in the different levels. We'll post the professional development calendar and regularly disseminate information on other professional development opportunities that are related to this work, because oftentimes districts, I think Joe being in the business knows, oftentimes districts do, they'll select something, but what's really important is you have to have the important support behind it in order for it to be successful. And last in the benchmarks you'll see, examine the findings with the leadership team for both the equity audit and the special education review. And these are, the special education review, they'll be on campus here in November. We'll also at the same time have the state of Massachusetts come in for their annual tier focus monitoring review. That does special education, civil rights, and EL. So they'll be in November as well. And we'll get those results and reports, and we'll debrief them and develop a timeline with the leadership team and take a look at what those recommendations are. Now the equity audit and review being townwide and school-wide, that's going to be ongoing throughout the course of the year. There'll be more components of it coming up, but we will really have to look at when those results come in sometime in the spring. Where do we go from there? What are the next steps? So that will be key. And thank you, Mr. Hicks, for talking a little bit about growing yourself too. So I did add a goal, and I really wanted to cover this one. Is goal 4 for the superintendent. I'll continue to build strong leadership skills while further developing a high-functioning leadership team of district administrators and principals through my participation in an executive leadership group and SEAM's Equity and Inclusion Affinity group for administrators. And it will strengthen my role in the district. And really what I'm looking to do is, I had an opportunity, it's by invitation to an executive leadership group run by Future Management Systems, and they invited me to participate with other superintendents across Massachusetts, and that will be monthly, so I'll be attending those. And the SEAM group, just so happens that SEAM is the person that won the bid for our equity review is also running a course through SEAM Collaborative, one of our collaboratives, and it's an affinity inclusion, equity inclusion affinity group, so I'll be meeting with them. And so I'll be providing you, and I'll come back with some examples of some of the assignments, readings, case studies that we do. And my hope is to bring back best practices with the leadership team at our scheduled meetings and individually as appropriate. So really, And then last but not least, the school committee goal. And we put this on there because every couple of years we don't put it on and someone says, hey, that's our goal. So we have a shared one. I have 3 of my own, which would be district-wide, professional, and then student. And do you want to talk a little bit about the school committee goal?
Sure. It's pretty self-explanatory here, but I guess for folks that don't have the paper in front of them, to work efficiently, respectfully as a team, to make sure that we have good dialogue and encourage involvement in programs, create community advocacy for our public schools, to share accurate, consistent information concerning our performance as a district, and policies and budgets, communicate complex issues, particularly concerning Facilities Master Plan 2, clearly and respectfully with all constituents, and then finally to attend meetings periodically of related school and community organizations and school councils using liaisons, and we talked earlier about that very thing. The benchmarks are pretty clear, provide always announce our committee meetings, participate in public forums in support of the Facilities Master Plan 2, provide monthly article for nightly news, attend as many activities and meetings of the related organizations like PTOs and CPAC as we can, and when we're invited to other school events, we've been doing that as already, right? We, with National Night, I attended National Night Out, for example. Attend the board and committee meetings as appropriate, the town boards and committees like FinCom and Select Board, and attending the town activities I just mentioned, like Fall Festival. We tried. They rescheduled it, and we couldn't make the rescheduled date, but we will make a good attempt to attend as many of those as we can.
And Dave, for the viewers at home, I will say after the last meeting, you did come with me over to the power outage situation.
Yeah, that was fun.
At the middle school. And just after we got through all the power, they had a water main break that somehow became electrified. And so after that meeting, if you guys remember, I got a call from the fire chief during the meeting, and he said, I'm concerned about school for tomorrow. So I said, Dave, I got to go over here and figure out what's going on. And I'm working with the town manager and meeting over there, the police, fire, DPW, National Grid, and Dave's engineering experience. I've learned quite a bit. I think you met quite a lot of the community there that night too. So.
Yeah, it's strange when a water main pipe has electricity on it. That's not good. So yeah, we had a good look at that, and they figured it out and fixed it. And school ran the next day, which was good because we already had one snow day in September. We didn't really want to have another one. Not good. So that's we should discuss, right? Because this is on the agenda.
Do you have any
for a
questions
vote.
to discuss?
Yeah. So first questions. You want to start, Mr. Hicks?
Dr. Gilligan, in benchmarks for Goal 4, reports from ongoing club activities, can we invite those different affinity groups to come here, and so we may learn from them about what their needs are and how things are going?
Sure.
That was that one. And then the last thing I was just thinking about, I just thought of right now, when the equity audit and the special education review reports are done, there's it's a bit of a toss-up because we don't know the exact dates of those things. But I would think maybe for the special education review, if there's opportunities to plan and start things, smaller recommendations that they might have that can be, that would be good as well. And we don't know what they're going to say or when they're going to say it, but that would be good to do whatever we can as soon as we can. Would just be my nudge there. And then I don't know if any of those then have implications for budget, but that might not be done in time, but maybe.
For full transparency,
We don't know.
When we get these reports, to be fully transparent, anytime we typically get a report like this, we release it to everybody. We'll have someone come and we'll present it here as well. So good points, Joe. Thank you.
Anything else, Joe?
That's all I got right now.
Okay, Alyssa.
Actually, I was thinking along the same lines of Joe, of thinking, okay, if we could, any bit that we can work in there, maybe as we go into to the budget session, thinking about how that can be incorporated sooner rather than later. And I mean, if we could put that maybe even in there, and I mean, if we can't meet it due to obvious reasons that it's not done in Portland, those are exceptions, I think.
Yeah, I think anytime you have an outside set of eyes come in and they can tell you what you're doing well, and
Yeah.
and they can also make some recommendations that maybe you don't see. But it's also important to note, I think, that ongoing, we're always evaluating, figuring out what the needs are. And I think with our staffing plan that's in place, you've seen us have to address needs across the district. So, the additional counselor at elementary, the additional counselor at the middle school, the additional counselor at the high school were things that we knew we had to address needs as part of the staffing plan. And we've also had to increase, particularly right after, a lot of the restrictions eased in the pandemic, special education positions. Quite a few of those were in those positions that we've added in the last couple of budgets. So it's certainly something in addition to these reports,
Yeah.
and the state as well. So the state will come back,
Yeah.
and we'll be able to do that. So.
I was just curious, these executive leadership group sessions, what do those typically entail on a monthly basis?
So it would be 2 hours a month, and so I would meet with one group, a cohort of superintendents, and typically what we each do is we come up with a problem of practice, and then we use a consultancy protocol to discuss that, reflect on that, get feedback on it, and then we follow up in a follow-up cycle and monitor, what we've done. So it's really helpful in my growth, and it's something we model with our leadership team is being reflective about practice. Oftentimes in education or any profession, you can be really reactive to things, and sometimes you're solving for the wrong answer. So the ability to work with some terrific minds from a variety of communities, I'm excited about it.
Is that something that all superintendents participate in, or is that just an optional?
It's not something that's organized through the state. So, for example, when I was a new superintendent, I participated for 3 years in the new superintendent induction program that was done in conjunction with the state of Massachusetts, DESE, and the Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents. And so that was a requirement, and you got a coach. And I actually brought my coach here. Matt King came and presented, and we worked on really specific things. There were good things about the program, like the coach was awesome. But that was for all new superintendents. The year I was hired, there were 44 of us that were first-time superintendents 6 years ago. And so that's something that, is offered to everyone. And so this is a group, Future Management Systems runs quite a few searches. They used to run a lot of the superintendent searches. Now, one of the hardest jobs to fill with quality people is directors of finance and operations, the money guys or women. And so this was by invitation. So, through my network at Boston College and my network with NISIP and the association and the Merrimack Valley Roundtable, I had a chance to be invited, and I think it's a good opportunity for me.
Great. And when you say completion of all assignments and readings, that's in relation to this Future Management Systems? Is that what that is?
Yeah, it's actually for that. It would also be for the affinity group. It would be for all the professional development I attend.
Okay.
If I could interrupt while we're on the subject of
Yeah.
future management systems, one of my questions is going to be who exactly are they? So are they a consulting firm, or are they
Yeah, and it's actually even less about the firm and more about the person facilitating this group. So they provide a facilitator.
okay?
I think that's the questions I have right now. Dave, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, and then you can come back to you if you have,
Yeah, go
more
ahead.
as you look at this, right? So one thing I'm struck by, I appreciate the things you've added and adjusted here, but one thing that I'm looking for that I don't see, it may be here but I'm not seeing it, is how we measure progress, and in particular, right, for things like, the social justice and equity, you have benchmarks, and for the HQIM, there's benchmarks, but the benchmarks don't seem to have like a way to, a way to measure that we've improved. So if that's in here and I don't see it, let me know, but if not, then I suggest we add that to
So if you look at
somehow.
So the key action. So one of the biggest actions that we have, and we're a district, I don't know many that are doing it. We're running the Principals Learning Arc course, right? And so one of the ways that we have to build capacity is when principals go visit classrooms, they have to know what are the look fors. Like, what do I go see? It's not just about going to a classroom. And so the benchmark and the measurement would be, have we run have we run this course all year long? And, the evidence that I would bring is, here are the list of the dates that we came with. Here is a sample agenda of the items discussed, and this is how we adjusted or impacted practice. In terms of, the high quality curriculum piece, I'd be coming back. So the benchmark is, are we having these module unpacking sessions using the module unpacking tool and meeting the grade level teams? Like, so what frequency has that occurred? So really, this is a really meaty one. Dave, I think what you'll see is a couple things is, like, when you say, oh boy, I'd love to say like ELA at Atkinson will go up 2%, right? And these are the goals that are really critical to make those things happen. What you'll see later in the fall is we'll have, for example, the MCAS presentation coming up. You'll see different reports throughout the course of the year, but then you'll also be taking a look at the school improvement plans, which then really get into specifics about improvement depending on what those needs are. So that's that. And so the high quality piece and then the equity piece, it's going to be quite an undertaking with the equity process, the special education review, and then more importantly, the meetings with Boston College, the individual coaching meetings.
Okay, I think that's all good and appropriate, but if there could be a way to report out, right?
Yeah.
Even if you can't sit here, like I realize it's probably impossible. I'm a data guy, forgive me, but it's probably impossible to say, well, we're going to increase this metric or this learning metric by 5%. But if you can't be specific like that, which I would understand, at least we could maybe have a readout on what happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm trying to say? Like it's like a progress thing.
I'm also thinking, Dr. Gilligan, it just popped in my head. When the PDs for the teachers is to make sure that they get their PDP points for doing all the PDs that we design, right?
Absolutely.
One of the things they have to make sure is that there's an opportunity for feedback. So, like, what are we learning through the feedback surveys that you do at the end of the sessions, and what adjustments are you making, and like that could be part of of what's included as well.
And so that's typically the evidence that I do bring at the mid-cycle, and then the end of the school year.
Okay.
Be happy to do that.
Yeah, I would appreciate that. Just some sort of acknowledgement that progress was made, or even if it's not made, then that's learning from. There's learning from that too. When it doesn't work, that's important to know if something's not working. Right.
Well, I think with such a complex, we're a big organization, a complex organization, and so it's sometimes easy to say, like, you know what, we're going to improve our MCAS overall. In this year we went up 12 points overall, in terms of meeting or exceeding in grades 3 to 8 in literacy. That's great. And we were like 53, 52 and a half. The state average was like 44. We made progress, but in order to achieve those things, this is the work at this level that has to take place in order for that to happen. That at individual schools, implementing those strategies and ensuring that those are done, that's critical. So we'll be happy to have those folks back, and I'm looking forward to them.
All right. So I would just like to give an example of where I'm going. So, for instance, under the benchmarks for for the social justice and equity, it says we'll have examine the findings of the leadership team for both equity audit and the special education review and plan a timeline for next steps. So I would suggest we add the words and a report on progress, or something to that effect.
Well, you got to remember that, so the equity review, as I mentioned, I think last time, we're talking about a 3 to 5 year plan.
Right.
So there's a roadmap that comes with these things.
Okay.
But I'd be happy to put progress. That's fine, Dave.
Yeah, I think that would be good.
Also, Dr. Gilligan, again, sorry, just popped into my head, thinking about numbers and like how we measure, like, are the things working? Another place we might be able to look is with our more committed use of wit and wisdom, what's the impact that's having on the benchmark testing that we do in district?
Yeah, so
Not that should be the thing, but like that would be
a good example.
Right, and I was thinking along the same lines. I'd like, especially with it being like the full rollout, some feedback on that.
So we're going to have that as we go, and that, so, you know, one of the things is just because we don't have something here doesn't mean that we're not going to do it. You know,
Right.
where there's a zillion
Yep.
things that we
Yep.
have through the course of the year. These are the most critical to making sure this is successful. But we will, you know, every year we come in with a data presentation around, really, okay, this is what we want kids to know and be able to do. So here's what we teach them. How do we know what they know and be able to do? Well, we give them an assessment, and this is the progress that we've made. And I'm not sure if Dave or Alyssa, you guys were on the committee last year for some of the presentations around the data, but we certainly have the curriculum team in to do that. A lot like SEL tonight came in, but they'll come in and talk about, you know, the progress we're making. And then we'll also have the principals come in to talk about the progress that they've made from last year's planning to this year. So it will all come full circle.
So, and my question to you, Dr. Gilligan, is out of these benchmarks, what do you feel is challenging you? What do you feel is a stretch for you that, like, this is a reach? It's a good goal, but it's a reach.
Yeah, I would say that I really would say the implementation of high quality instructional materials. It's not a reach, but it's a challenge managing all the complexities and parts of not just talking about wit and wisdom, but foundations and Haggerty, and how do we align all these pieces. It's talking about any of the programming. Even you saw from SEL tonight talking about how things transition. So it's about being systemic in this work and doing it with fidelity so that a North Andover education is a North Andover education. And that's always a challenge every year, and particularly when we have new kids.
So I guess to follow up on that, when we have some things that we know are going to happen, right? Regardless of whether they're written down in a goal or not. So I guess what I'm looking for is what kind of things maybe wouldn't happen if they weren't set as a goal.
That wouldn't happen.
Yeah, like things that we know, some of these things are automatically, I mean, we know we have to have PD, we know, they're going to be posted or whatever, just a generalized example. But what kind of things are in here that are like, all right, this is something I'm specially putting out for goals that maybe wouldn't automatically happen in the course of the operations?
I would say that the normal rollout and the speed of which we've done in terms of recovery for like high quality instructional materials and the capacity for staff to do so, there's nothing more important than that support and that professional development. So it's about having the right professional development, which is really part of our strategic plan, the targeted professional practice. It's about what kind of support are we providing, not only the materials, but the support, and that's the critical part to make that happen.
Right, and I was just using that as an example, but I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
in general, what kind of things in your goals are things like, all right, this wouldn't normally happen in the course of operations, but I'm putting this as a goal because I feel this is important to the future of the school district.
Yeah, I would say last year's goal, for example, of having an equity audit, right? That has set in motion now something that will be very time consuming and that will impact this community and our district for years to come, with a blueprint of that. On a same type of scale, the Terry Focus monitoring and the special education review. Those are really critical for us getting ahead. So like to take all of these things on in a year with the implementation of a new literacy the challenges of conducting. I mean, it's time consuming. The equity review will be all encompassing. The tiered focus monitoring, the special education review, all the while we're doing an addition at the middle school. We are building a new Kittredge school, and we are trying to provide, get all of our students ahead. That's a lot.
Okay. Any other comments or questions?
And working with the town to budget for all our programming in the future.
But I don't think that's really one of the things that was said in here as a.
Well, the collaborating with municipal officials. Goal number 1.
Okay. I'm just looking if there's any more discussion or because we could entertain a motion to vote on this. I'd like to see the words report on progress. This is just, we're still in the general discussion phase right now. I'd like to see the words report on progress added to all of these except maybe the first one, because I think it's kind of doesn't need to be there. But for 2, 3, 4, and even 5 for our goal, school committee goal,
well,
we should have a regular progress report.
We'll have a mid-cycle review coming up, and that's where we'll have it's an opportunity to present all that progress.
Yeah, and Chair Brown, I would request that this be held for a third reading and vote, just for another review. I know some of these were just recently updated, and we have 2 committee members gone.
Missing, yeah.
So I would request that be held for a third read.
Is that my discretion? Just asking a process question.
I think we would then table.
Yeah,
so there's a motion.
Yeah.
Need to make a motion to table.
All right.
Which motions to table are, we don't discuss whether or not we should, so it goes right to a vote. Someone makes a motion, it gets seconded, and it goes directly to a vote. There's no discussion in that process.
I motion to table.
I'll second.
All right, and then let's have a vote. All those in favor of tabling? Mr.
Yes.
Hicks?
Yes.
Ms. Camp Koenig and Mr. Brown agrees too. So all 3-0 will table that for a third read. And they give you time, actually gives you time to kind of edit this a little bit, right, further.
Well, if you have any feedback, feel free to send it.
Yeah.
We had a couple weeks, and so whatever you get,
Yep, I'll send it.
happy to incorporate.
Yep, I think we should do that. Okay. All right. Similarly, we were going to have a second read and vote on the letter of support of rural school districts. So I'd like to give my opinion on that, if that's okay. I don't have any new feedback since 2 weeks ago on that one. Actually, that's not true. I did speak with Representative Ramos about that, and there's some concern that it could have a financial impact on North Andover. And for that reason, I would, I don't know if I'm allowed to make a motion, but I would, if I am, I would want to make a motion to
You could table it.
For that reason. But I don't know if anyone else wants to give an opinion on that.
I think it's still early in the process in the bill legislative process to have an opinion without knowing all the things yet. So I would not be comfortable voting on something at this point, but I'm comfortable waiting. And once we table, we don't have to untable it immediately at the next meeting. We can take it can sit on the table for as long as necessary.
Okay.
Okay, so was that a motion?
If I'm allowed, I am allowed to make motions. Just because I'm the chair, I can make motions, right? I would move to table that. To be more specific, to table the second read and vote on letter of support of rural school districts.
I second.
Okay. So let's vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so Mr. Hicks said yes, and Ms. Koenig said yes, and Mr. Brown made the motion and says yes, so that passes. So we tabled both of these things.
I love parliamentary procedure and Robert's Rules of Order.
All right, cool. So we can move on to new business. well, we already did the first part with Paul earlier on the overnight trip request for Ireland-Scotland trip. And we had multiple volunteers to chaperone along with that. So we now have a first read and discussion of the FY25 capital improvement plan. That would be Dr. Mealy.
So it does, being a long-term plan, not surprisingly, it doesn't change a lot. All we do is shift each item to the left. So what was last year's request becomes this year's current. We are, as you can see, middle school construction is going on this year. The Kittredge feasibility design is going to happen. And design, actually, I met with Tiffany Goddard, the principal at ABECC, and the design firm this afternoon for the gym at the ABECC. And then if they design something that we can afford, we'll go to town meeting in May for approval of a construction of that. Dr. Gilligan and I will be meeting with Melissa Rodriguez, the town manager, to confirm the schedule for the other parts of facilities master plan to ensure that they are still as indicated. And so we'll have that for the next read. And then the other items, if you recall from last year, we combined what was paving and drainage issues and exterior maintenance renovation into one item. So you can see there the $200,000 captures that. And then going forward after this year, we anticipate that being about $250,000 a year. We have the second part. We actually got approval at town meeting for $200,000 for the high school auditorium. We've held off on that work because it makes a lot more sense. We were going to do it in phases. It makes a lot more sense to do it all at once. So we'll request the rest of the funding for that project, the $150,000, and do the work at the end of the school year for over the summer, so it's ready for next year. That's redoing all the sound and all the.
So we'll spend the $200,000 at the end of this school year before the fiscal year is over.
No, we don't. A capital fund carries over.
It carries over.
Yep.
Thank you.
So no problem. And in the IT, the annual IT amount stays the same. And just as a reminder, what we do in annual maintenance is about 10% of your overall infrastructure costs, which is about $2 million. And then just some narrative to go along. The middle school construction project is currently on budget and on schedule. Kittredge feasibility design, we're currently in the MSBA feasibility study stage for this project, and we'll be looking for approval of design funds during, I left a G out, the FY24 town meeting. ABEC gym I just talked about, district-wide exterior I talked about, the high school auditorium and IT infrastructure. Any questions?
Yes.
Yes. But, go ahead.
$47 million in fiscal year 26 for Kittredge. Is that just design? If he's what does that include?
That's the anticipated right now as part of the facilities master plan 2 that got put together by MVG.
Yep.
That's the estimated cost to the town for construction.
Got it.
Yep. And I did. Sorry, I skipped over. We have added the high school track restoration. Again, referring back to that micro burst or whatever we called it that happened in the torrential rains. The track took a beating and now needs a complete restoration. So that actually could be covered. It's being submitted. It could be covered by insurance funds, but it has to be done.
And that was going to happen sooner or later anyway, right? It just came sooner.
It's now
sooner.
Sooner.
It's now.
Exactly.
Is the track, because that's for fiscal year 25, is the track usable?
So
Like,
Steve
will we be able to
Nugent,
have this spring
Steve Nugent will
session?
be able to have his meets this year, but we definitely,
It won't last another.
we don't believe it would last another year after that. Yep. Because there's some patching that we can do for this year.
Yep.
Yep.
To make it work.
Exactly.
And then, how long does a restoration take? Is that like if we get, well, knock on wood, approval of funding, does that mean it's ready for the next season? Like
It will
multi-year project?
possibly, and we'll do what we can to make that happen, but not surprisingly, every school district is in the same boat. We want the work done over the summer,
Mm-hmm.
and so everyone tries to get on schedule at the same time.
And is that the track or the entire field complex up there?
No. The turf is fine.
Turf is good.
Yeah, it would just be the track.
My other question was the ABEC gym. Is that going to be like the type of gym that we put onto Kittredge a few years ago?
That's what we are.
That style.
Well, they'll give us the options. We certainly have indicated that that's worked well for us and was effective as far as cost went. So they'll do that and a traditional build as well as options. And just for those who might not know, we're looking for that to go on where the preschool playground is right now. So right at the end of the corridor of the preschool, heading towards Atkinson. That site right there. And then it's interesting because there's the CPC funding for playgrounds townwide. That money is carried over because it was available last year for ABECC. So there's $100,000 waiting to see, all right, if the gym happens, then we're gonna put this playground over by the kindergarten playground and have the money to do it. If it doesn't happen, let's hope that's not the case, then we just replace in kind.
So the building would be most likely located between the older part of the ABECC and the Atkinson, right where that covered walkway is.
So right where, right to the right of the corridor as you're coming up towards the school, but right where the preschool playground is right now, that rubbery surface and the equipment right there.
Would it end up connecting the two buildings, or?
No, it wouldn't go any further than the sheds that are there. We're looking for pretty much that footprint that you see, that fenced-in playground is pretty much the footprint we're looking at.
Okay.
That doesn't seem very big.
It is a lot bigger than you would think, and a lot bigger than what they have right now.
That's for sure.
Would it be a full-size basketball
No,
court?
no,
Okay.
nope. It's for kindergarten
Right.
and preschool.
It doesn't need to be.
It doesn't. Yeah.
But you don't have any 6 foot tall.
They scale it.
We don't have any 6'6".
Dave, have you seen the chairs in the bathrooms in there?
I go into kindergarten classes I can and sit down because I'm.
They'll be dunking on the little tyke.
Okay. Do you have any more?
I'm all set. Sorry. Thank you.
All right. Alyssa, do you want to go? Or?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm curious about I'm curious about a couple of things. The IT budget was flat, $250 going across, but is that okay, or?
It's working right now. I talked to Mike Grant, and it's covering our needs for updating infrastructure, making repairs, and actually we end up being able to use some of the money each year for additional devices to kind of supplement.
So we're not running up against, my question's really
We're not.
going is with inflation and stuff, if we're running up against that number every
We're not
year,
right
we might
now.
want-
Correct.
we're not. Okay.
Sorry, I was just going to piggyback off of that
Yeah.
because Chromebooks have a life expectancy that isn't exceptional. Is that calculated into that of eventually
So
having to
we've been
replace
able
these
to
for the
use
district?
because we needed additional during COVID. But Mike's done a great job. One, we have money in the operating budget, and two, he was able to secure a grant this year that meant we didn't have to spend anything out of operating or capital for devices. He got, I forget the number, a number of devices, a large number. So we're in good shape as it goes right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that was just
And
something.
he's replacing those on a rolling basis.
Correct.
I think
Yep.
you bought 1,200 this year.
But yeah, it was a lot.
All right. And then my other question, sorry, of the 47.979 million for Kittredge, so that's our share, right? But the actual project is more, and the state is providing some funds for that. Am I understanding that correctly?
So I gotta check that because I thought that was the total price and you get reimbursed. So you have to up front
Oh, you have to. Oh, I see. And then the state reimburses you.
and it's a reimbursement. Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. If you could, get
Yeah,
the
I
answer to
will.
that would be good. Because that obviously catches my eye. And it would impact what we ask for at town meeting, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
That's the number I believe we go with, but with the expectation that we're getting reimbursed for.
Part of
It's
it.
not a straight. The percentage doesn't come out complete. Like right now, we're right around 50%. But then there are things that you're going to do in the project that don't qualify, so you're over some amount of it is not reimbursed. But for the most part, you're looking at $20-something million being reimbursed.
Okay.
Yep.
And that'll be part of the, I'm sure that'll make its way into the article at the town meeting, right?
That'll be
information.
Part of the narrative.
Yeah.
To get the approval, correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it. I think I should actually, it's easier to look at this, but I think that's all I have. Yep. All right, so I think we're done with that discussion. And it's first read, so there's no further action tonight on that.
Correct.
Okay, and now first read and discussion on surplus school equipment.
So if you've been to the middle school, you probably noticed that there's a storage bin that's been there since COVID hit. It was used mainly for musical equipment. They were out in the tents playing, and so it was easy. So we used ESSER money to buy the unit. I'm not a big fan of those storage units. They're ugly. It's right in the front of the building. We could move it, but the other part is that, generally speaking, just like at home, if you're storing it, you don't really need it. And they end up at some point leaking and damaging the goods inside. So my recommendation is that we just declare it surplus and have the town auction it off, and off it goes. There's nothing in there right now.
Oh, it's an empty container.
It's an empty storage container.
Oh, it's just the container itself.
Just the container.
Yeah, okay.
And we
Yeah.
bought it because it was easier to buy the thing than to.
To rent.
Right.
Exactly. It was a small delta between the two.
But now we have.
Actually, this is crazy, but that reminds me. There used to be, I hope it's gone, a container, like a truck trailer on the middle school, down what would have been the third base line of the old baseball fields.
I think they may have.
Is that
I'd say
still
that.
there?
I think they've removed the ones. I think I'd have to confirm that from the field. We still have one that's over by the Parker Street exit.
But it's not a tractor trailer like Dave's talking about.
You know the thing.
No,
you know what I'm
it's
talking
it's
about.
a
right?
large
Yeah.
storage unit. Yeah.
I hope that thing is
So
gone. It was
that's-
scary.
Yeah. One of the things I'm going to look at is what do we have in there, and see if we can get rid of that one as well.
All right.
So-
Yeah. And the thing I'm talking about used to have surplus sports gear. You know, tackling, and not tackling. You know the stuff the offensive line practices with the sleds.
Yep.
It had sleds in it. It had old bases. It was a scary place. I hope it's gone. But this is the one you're talking about now, though, is the one in the front.
Right in front of
Yeah.
the entrance, front entrance. Yeah.
Is it just one, or is there more than one anywhere?
So there's one there, and then we have one over by the Park Street exit
Oh.
entrance. That could be included as well.
So we're looking to do
I have
them
to
both?
see what's in there, possibly.
Okay.
Yep.
And per policy, we have to declare a surplus, and then the town
And then it's up to the
goes,
town. They
does
auction.
something with it.
They do an auction, and yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Can you bring the whole thing down to scrap metal yard?
Well,
Can
who
make it a
knows what-
tiny home. Tiny offices.
All right. Okay, so I think that's it for that. Thank you, Jim. So I believe yes. Okay.
I have a small public comment, member
Oh,
comment.
okay.
Next weekend, the North Andover Music Association and the music department is hosting a huge marching band competition.
So cool.
It's split into two parts. Awards ceremony number 1 is like 4:30, 4:45, and then awards ceremony number 2, which I'll be helping present, will be like at 8:45. But a number of bands competing in between, and then I think a college band performing and
WPI.
competing.
Usually,
No, it was.
usually it's one of them.
I want to find this one, but super awesome event for that group, and really excited to be able to go watch our amazing musicians compete and maybe even win. That was I'm gonna find it really, really, really fast. I have it. That was from Ken.
And is that
And-
the 14th?
It is, yes.
Yeah, next Saturday.
And while you're looking for that, I'd also say it's a great event to take even younger children out to. They look up to these older kids. It really helps spark their interest in music in the future.
Mhm.
So even if you do not have a high schooler, it's a great event for the younger kids.
So bands from all over the place, and then the Boston University Marching Band is performing last at 8:30, right before the award ceremony. North Andover takes the field at 7.
And this is in the Walsh Stadium
Yes.
at the high school. Yeah, yeah. Years ago I went to those. They are very cool. Definitely, I highly recommend them. All right. Any other public comment? I don't see anyone. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second.
All right, Mr. Hicks,
Yes.
Ms.
Yes.
Koenig, and Mr. Brown votes yes, and we are adjourned 8:56.